So welcome back to Tech I Spy. Today we're diving deep into MoonLake Immunotherapeutics, exploring the strategies this company is employing, its market position, and what the future may hold for investors like us. So buckle up as I unpack the layers of this intriguing biopharmaceutical contender. But before we start, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that's recently subscribed and commented on videos. It's very important as I develop my strategy for analysing companies using SWOT analysis and the pesto analysis that goes with that to understand exactly what we're doing when it comes to investing in small companies. It's always a problem I had when looking at companies in the past, is that I could never get a quite decent balanced view of what the company was, and most of it was based on the share price, which is just something ridiculous if you're investing in it long term in any way, shape or form. If you haven't invested already, please do. I try to put these videos out once a week. It's very important stuff that we're doing here to try and look at these companies, and everything you do, like, subscribing, commenting, all helps to go towards future productions. Okay, thank you. Now, as usual, we're doing the SWOT analysis, as we've said, which is the strength of the company, the weakness of the company, the opportunities of the market for the company, and the threats to the company. And today we're going to look at MoonLake Immunotherapeutics. This is a company that operates in the biopharmaceutical industry, specifically focusing on inflammatory diseases. It's pioneering with something called sonelokimab, which is a nanobody treatment showing promise against conditions like, I'm going to mispronounce these again, hidradenitis suppurativa and psoriatic arthritis. This sector that's obviously growing. A lot of people are suffering from inflammatory diseases. It seems to be the underlying cause of a lot of problems out there at the moment for a wide section of the population. It's a sector that's growing potentially exponentially, but it's growing quite a lot. With the technology that's evolving around that, the advances we're expecting, we're going to see a lot more of these companies cropping up in the future. So let's go through who the company is. It was founded sometime around 2021 and it's based in a place called Zug, Switzerland. MoonLake Immunotherapeutics, it's mainly concentrating on this nanotechnology, nanobody technology, I should say, and it's demonstrated quite significant potential in its clinical trials. So again, I'm going to try to avoid going too much into the financials. I think it's a distraction from what we're actually looking at. But we'll start with the strengths. So MoonLake Immunotherapeutics has made significant strides in the medical technology industry. Its key product, sonelokimab, I will pronounce it properly at some point, is a registered nanobody, a novel investigational nanobody designed to treat inflammatory diseases. The product is currently using focus on inhibiting something known as IL-17A and IL-17F, which are crucial in the pathophysiology of diseases such as psoriatic arthritis and hidradenitis suppurativa, which are prevalent and challenging conditions that impact the quality of life for millions globally. Now, to be perfectly honest, I've only heard of psoriatic arthritis. I've not heard of the other one. Please don't fill up the comment section with what it's like having that. I don't need to know. But obviously these are conditions which are well recognized and common enough for a company to be able to develop a product specifically to treat these conditions. So if we look at the main product, sonelokimab, this is a trivalent camelid nanobody which selectively binds with the high affinity to the two ILs, 17A and 17F, which are the key drivers of the inflammation that's part of these debilitating diseases. Now, the product's small size allows for the enhanced tissue penetration, supposedly, and is potentially more effective at managing these diseases than with traditional antibodies. And if you know any research into any kind of antibody treatments, you'll know that it's only recently they started investing in these again, since penicillin was so fantastic at tackling antibiotics, using that in the past, and recently it's been, all the development has been done to enhance what is naturally part of the human immunity system. So the clinical trials have been a success so far. They've reported positive outcomes in these clinical trials. Notably, phase 2 trials is always very important when you're about to start investing in any kind of medtech company whatsoever. So the PSA and HS, these two conditions, it seems to be working at least. The studies have demonstrated significant patient improvement with regards to symptoms, so it's not a cure, it's just a treatment, and is promising as an option in the entire inflammatory disease market. So for instance, with the something called the Argo trial, patients treated with the sonelokimab showed a 50% reduction in the inflammatory disease, the activity of the inflammatory disease, than with any other treatments that are out there at the moment. I imagine it would be the placebo that would use against this. The company itself has established partnerships to advance the R&D that's going with this. Is very good. It means that there's a collaboration going on there. Particularly with a company called Komodo Health. There's a research going on at the moment currently to deal with inflammatory skin and joint conditions, which supports the evolution of this company to research the capabilities and treatments linked in with these products. This is obviously its flagship product at the moment. There are others in there, although there isn't a lot of data regarding these, so I can't tell you exactly how effective these are overall. If we look at recent news around this company, positive news at least, we can it's mainly around the phase 2 trial for this product, sonelokimab, and the moderate to severe HS disease, and the treatment for that, and how it's been able to help with that. This has been really good news. It's primarily the news that goes with it. There's also the additional news regarding the financial status of the company, which suggests that any public offering has been relatively successful. The R&D basically being managed quite well. There's not an overload of excess R&D, if that's even possible. So they're managing the finances quite well. Although, like I said, go do your own research for that, because I don't want to talk about share prices and things like that. There's obviously an unmet need in the market for these type of things. If you're interested in more detail of this, go to something called clinicaltrials.gov, which is a stateside website which looks at all these clinical trials, and you should be able to kind of get more kind of idea of just how successful it is. In short, the strengths of this company are it's got a good product that seems to do the trick and hasn't had any errors along the way so far. So obviously there are going to be challenges with any tech startup, especially in the medtech arena, and MoonLake is no different. So while pioneering in the medical biotech sphere, there are several challenges and some concerns that I've become interested in looking at. The efficacy and the approval risks that go around this main product, sonelokimab. Despite the fact that it's got promising results for phase 2, it hasn't moved on from there just yet, and there are further clinical trials which, having invested in medtech companies in the past, can really trip up should there be any heavy kickback from patients, basically. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. As these trials go through, there will be people behind the scenes that obviously are investing and are told ahead of public releases when things go wrong. I would love it if people play by the rules, and hopefully this company is one of them, but I don't like taking the chances, and I tend not to invest quite heavily when we get closer to any potential end of phase trials research coming out. Even though if you're lucky, it will spike up. So just be aware of that. And as with any clinical stage company, there's obviously financial instability that goes with this. This has no commercial income at the moment. Everything is coming from investors and funding rounds with various authorities in order to fund everything that's going on. Basically means that once it's gone through all trials and should it become a viable product out there, yes, it will make its money commercially, but at the moment it's not a commercial company. So treat it like an R&D company, and just be aware that it's only the share price moving that's going to affect the price, basically. Obviously there's market competition. We'll discuss that a bit more when we get to the opportunities out there and the threats to the company. There are a few other companies that are doing similar things. Research into inflammatory conditions quite out there. There's a lot of look into modulating DNA to other treatments and hippie treatments that go along with that. Nanobodies are quite interesting. I think not many companies are actually looking at doing that. It's quite an innovative field of actually taking microdoses of something and target them specifically at the problem. It's certainly going to make it a bit more interesting. You see this with like use of carbon nanotubes and things like that. Just something that gets the medicine or the treatment exactly where you want it. It's very interesting stuff. Although there aren't that many people that are specialised in it. Hopefully this company will be okay at the moment. But there are going to be concerns when it comes to using something that's not widely used, and I don't know if there's going to be negative reactions from people who's paranoid about what new technology can do for people. But as yet, there are no calls to downgrade any investments in MoonLake Immunotherapeutics. This suggests a cautiously optimistic outlook from the analysts that I've had a brief look at. There's also the potential amongst further investors not to get involved in something that potentially could just become niche, essentially, if better products come from outside of this company, basically. So looking at the opportunities of the industry, the entire biotechnology industry where MoonLake Immunotherapeutics operates is currently experiencing substantial growth, with a projected compound annual growth rate of around 14% from this year through to 2030. That's really good. It's very, very good. The growth is being driven by technology such as CRISPR, which is the DNA modulation which I've spoken about, as well as the nanomedicine that this company specialises in, with a obvious increase in personalised medicine and reshaping therapeutic approaches to disease management for the individual rather than a group of people. We can see MoonLake Immunotherapeutics is specifically focused on developing treatments for inflammatory diseases such as we'll just call it HS and PSA as they do medically because it's easier. These diseases are particularly challenging both in terms of their impact on patients and the complexity of their treatments. HS, for example, is a chronic skin condition causing painful lumps, and this has a prevalence of about 4% of the global population, which severely affects the quality of life. Psoriatic arthritis is the joints, and potentially up to 30% of individuals with psoriatic arthritis have joint pain, and this leads to long-term bone damage and joint damage. We've seen this mainly with older people, but it is right across the board. It affects every age range. If we expand our look into the whole market and we look at the financial potential of the market, the treatments for inflammatory diseases is significant due to the obvious high demand that's there for any therapies. People pay through the nose just to be relieved from pain. This is one of the largest potential markets out there. It's somewhere between 415 and 420 billion. That's just taken over the past 12 months. The growth for this could easily be 10 times that, I would have thought. So any medicine that enters the market is going to have quite a high potential market out there. Definitely great potential there for any medicine that's able to kind of capitalize on people's misery, basically. All these companies are working together to a certain extent. They're all going to the same conferences, so there's a lot of strategic partnerships and innovations, and obviously they're all talking to each other, so you're going to see a wide set of pathways and strategic thinking that's going to expand and change everything. So it's going to be wildly changing, with new stuff coming out all over the place. But overall, the industry's robust growth, combined with the high burden of the inflammatory diseases, is going to make innovative companies like MoonLake Immunotherapeutics, it's going to put them in a great position to potentially succeed, should they be able to get through everything, and all the potential downfalls that could be on the horizon. Okay, so the threats to the company, usual stuff we'd expect with any kind of tech startup. Primarily it's going to be around the regulatory challenges to the entire sector. Biotechnology as a whole, because it involves human health, is heavily regulated in most sectors around the world, most countries, and the development approval process for any biotech product, especially involving any kind of genetically modified organisms, any GMOs or novel drug therapies, the process is stringent and very time consuming. Changes in these policies and unexpected regulatory setbacks from hostile press pushing on politicians during election years, I can especially see that happening this year more than any other, will disturb, shall we say, how these treatments are going to go through their trial processes before they hit anything else. There's always alternative treatments as well. You know, somebody might find a plant somewhere in the deepest jungle that can basically beat any of this very high-tech stuff, such as CRISPR use or any kind of biotech solutions, which would be difficult. You never know where this is going to come from. You never know how it's going to affect anything. The sector is also, especially as we've seen recently, is affected by severe economic uncertainties, the global economic shifts that happen all the time, especially during recessions, changes in trade policies, fluctuations in the flow of investments generally between countries. During times of conflicts around the world, you're going to see massive changes in investments and pulling of money from different countries. That's severely going to affect the development of any drugs or anything like that. Any medicines, any therapeutics will be severely affected by that, and obviously you should always be aware of where these companies are based, where they're doing their research, and what's going on politically around them, because you can never tell. The company has nothing whatsoever to do with what's going on with the conflict. We see this in the Middle East, especially at the moment. A large number of tech firms being hit quite hard when it comes to investments because of what's going on politically there. Whether you're, regardless of how you view the ethics of what's going on there, it will impact investments and your ability to kind of gain any kind of outcome from your investment. There's also a ethical and the societal concerns of using biotechnology in treating ailments. The public perception will affect the press, will then lead to changes in acceptance of technologies. CRISPR at the moment, anything to do with gene splicing is, although there's a mature debate about this now, originally it was very kind of very worrying that the technology might not be able to go through, because people certainly had a severe backlash to the perception of gene editing and gene modification. Nanotechnology has the same thing. In this country, in the UK, we had, who is now King Charles, was previous Prince Charles, used to describe a grey goo when it came to nanotechnology. And if you've ever seen any kind of silly science fiction film, you know it's all the way through there. Never looking good. It's always a nasty thing in the background that's going to destroy mankind. So there are worries about how technology is used, and this will affect the regulations and how these things are going to be used. Which leads to the final point, is the biosecurity. These things can be manipulated to create biological weapons, and you can have whatever robust security measures you want. You don't know how people are able to use these things to do negative things to the general population, and it's always a possibility that it can just be banned outright if it becomes too much of a problem. So these are all threats that require proactive governance and comprehensive safety evaluations and transparent communication between the companies and the research bodies producing these products and the countries, parliaments, governments who are trying to weigh up the balance of the ethical considerations for sustainable growth of the biotechnology industry and needs to protect public safety, essentially. So in conclusion, if you've got a spare couple hundred you want to invest in this company, let's do the pros and cons very quickly as our conclusion. There's growth potential. The entire biotechnology industry is at the forefront of scientific innovation regardless of what field it's in. This includes genetic engineering, regenerative medicine, and the therapies technologies that are within this are in high demand. There's a prevalence of chronic diseases overall that need treatments that haven't quite come onto the market yet, that aren't available, and there's a need for them. So it's a robust market, and these biotech products will be jumping off the shelf once they've been proven safe and useful for use, I would say. The technology behind it are continuously improving. There's a large number of very intelligent people out there that are putting all their effort into creating what could be the next penicillin, essentially. So that's the pros. When we look at the cons, and these are just as important, we have knee-jerk reactions amongst politicians when it comes to new technology, which could lead to regulatory changes that could set back research. The slightest failure can impede a company's progress and affects its not only its profitability, but whether they're actually able to kind of carry on doing their R&D within the biotechnology sector. And then we have the ethics of using technology that is so different from what we've had used in the past, and how that's will affect and influence public perception and acceptance of using these treatments. Although I would have thought if you really are in pain and you've got information of any kind, you're going to do whatever you can to get hold of this stuff. So in conclusion, while the biotechnology sector offers substantial opportunities for growth and innovation, it also presents unique challenges and risks. The potential for MoonLake Immunotherapeutics especially is that they seem to be able to weigh up the challenges that they're facing. They are able to reach out to other companies and bring them in and engage with them, and given where it's going to, it's a very large market and should be able to, I don't know, if it can get through the next few phases and make it public, it should actually become quite a successful company. Hopefully they'll be able to engage with the expert opinions that are outside their company, and they're able to keep abreast of any regulatory changes around the world and maintain a diverse outlook, just as you should in your investments, and keep your portfolio open. They should be able to mitigate the risks that are associated with this and put any investors' minds at ease when putting money into it. And it's your hard-earned money at the end of the day, and you need to make sure you're not putting something that's going to go flatline because it's just gone through a bubble and there wasn't anything there in the first place. Trust me, if you go on my eToro account, you'll see that lot of companies on there that have all dropped 90% because they just didn't go anywhere. It's unfortunate, but that's why I invest small amounts in them in the hope that they're actually able to kind of come back one day, which surely they will. Okay, so that's it. That's MoonLake Therapeutics, ImmunoTherpeutics. Thank you for watching this episode. If you liked what I've put here, go down to the description bar. I keep a whole section there just based on where I got my research from and further reading, which I never got around to doing, which might be of interest to you before you actually start investing in this company and so on. So if you like the episode, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment, do whatever you need to do. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for another fun episode.